Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Priscilla, directed by Sofia Coppola, and it's a biographical film that details the story of Priscilla Presley. As as she ends up going into a relationship with Elvis, played by Jacob Elordi, and we see the relationship from Priscilla's perspective, which portrays the king of rock and roll as someone who's not exactly as perfect as some of his fans would believe, especially since it details the issues that led to Priscilla's overall divorce with the king of rock and roll. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around Priscilla when she first meets Elvis Presley when he's a rising star in the music scene. And while she's underage when she first meets him, she ends up forming an attachment to him based on her sympathy towards his home life. She feels that she has to help him and that she's a kind friend as well as a close confidant. So, while her parents are naturally at first apprehensive about their young daughter hanging out with a famous musician like this, Priscilla is able to do well in school. She manages to start a relationship with Elvis, and he does wait until she's 21 before they get married. But when they are married, Elvis's temper, his use of drugs, as well as his flings with other women cause rifts in their relationship that ultimately lead to Priscilla divorce, which ultimately lead to a big divorce, and ultimately leads to Priscilla going off on her own. But that's all I'll say about the story. The story here definitely does show Elvis in a more negative light than some people could be comfortable with, but I do think it's important to get perspectives from all sides when it comes to a celebrity. I think it's the case for any person, really. And Elvis is not infallible. He is an incredible musician, and he was absolutely a huge star for a good reason. But these private moments with Priscilla would only be known by Priscilla and Elvis, and since Elvis is dead, naturally Priscilla would have to be honest with the various things that were going on between her and the king of rock and roll. Now, are some of these moments made up by Priscilla? Debatably, but it does make for an effective drama that is brought to life rather well by Sofia Coppola. Some people would look at Sofia Coppola and say that nepotism isn't really dead, considering her father is Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest directors of all time. But it has been proven time and time again that Sofia Coppola can direct genuinely good dramas, and this thankfully is one of them. There's plenty of good lighting, there's plenty of dramatic tension, there's tons of great acting from both Priscilla and Elvis, and pretty much every single man and woman that surrounds them. But it's a very personal movie when it comes to the main two characters the way it should be. There's plenty of Elvis's music thrown throughout, and Jacob Elordi does a really good job handling the Elvis voice in both his musical numbers as well as in the more dramatic scenes. But it's ultimately Priscilla's actress who does so well and makes these scenes so effective. She's vulnerable when she needs to be, she fights back when she has to, and she genuinely feels like she's going through one heartbreaking scenario after another by the time we get to the film's climax. Ultimately, the life of celebrity involves a lot of debauchery, a lot of rule breaking, and a lot of cases where they choose fun over responsibility, which ultimately can lead to a lot of broken hearts and broken relationships. And this film does a lot with that. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. If you don't mind seeing Elvis from a more complicated perspective, I recommend you go see it. See you next time.